Hello everybody, this is Fernando for the latest Cryptids and Monsters of the Week video. Well, for this random page entry there from the cryptids.wiki.com website, it took me to a case that occurred just a little over 10 years or so ago there, deep within the sewers of Raleigh, North Carolina. What's fascinating about this case is it just proves how truth is stranger than fiction because of the fact that there's actually some real-life explanations associated with this bizarre encounter, and it also took the media a little bit by storm because of the shocking images that were portrayed from this capture. So great stuff. When I was reading this information, I had no idea this occurred, but essentially you're looking at it now. Now, as far as this thing, it goes by several names, but it is known as the Blob, but also more commonly known as the Cameron Village Sewer Blob. So let's go ahead and let's talk about all the fascinating info associated with this case, and then in just one moment you'll hear all the real-life explanations associated with it. Apparently this is really a real-life living thing within this world. Now, as far as this occurrence and what happened, you'd have to go back to 2009, April of 2009 to be specific, there in Raleigh, North Carolina. Apparently there's an area there known as Cameron Village, and the sewer lines or the sewer pipes that were built there were done so in 1940. So somewhere along the way, either through the passage of time or maybe some kind of infrastructure issues, as was being described in some of the articles I was reading, something was causing the issues with the sewer line. So this area decided to hire a company called Malfris Construction, and their deal was they would send a tiny surveillance camera deep within the sewers to try to figure out what was going on, or at least try to check out the sewer lines to see if anything else stood out. I imagine that this was something that they always do on a normal basis with this company, and so they probably had some projected images or some ideas ready to go. Well, as the camera was moving about within the sewer lines, that's when they came across this. Obviously, this was not something they were inspecting because the camera specifically stopped next to it, and then what horrified everyone watching the images was this disgusting looking blob thing actually moved. It was pulsating. In fact, at one point, it actually seemed to retract itself from the camera itself. So it's almost like it knew that the camera was right there, right next to it, and then it was like shying away. Like, I've seen the images, I've seen the video. In fact, I'll include the link for it below. I recommend when you have a chance to check out the actual clip, because when you do so, you'll see exactly why this stuff took the media by storm. Because once these clips were shared with everyone, then obviously like bunch of places like NBC, CBS, Fox, and others, they were eager to share something like this because of everything associated with this disgusting image. And for a while there, it was unknown exactly what it was. In fact, it probably could still be considered somewhat unknown, only because of the multiple angles that could help explain it. So in this case, though, some of the public utilities companies, and this one called the Environmental Coordinator for Public Utilities there at the city of Raleigh, North Carolina, a representative from there actually came on board and stated that they were confused as to what they were looking at. They stated it might have been something along the lines of slime mold that was within a life cycle, like a phase within its life cycle, and that would explain why it looked like a throbbing, breathing animal, but that anything involving this slime would still go through a treatment center, because people's natural concerns were this was a sewer line. This is water that could end up, let's say, within a fountain or some other type of drinking area, and so they wanted to make sure and cause peace with everyone and let them know that no, it would be treated and everything would be thoroughly cleansed. But a couple of hours later, that's when that same representative stated that this was a private sewer system, and so because it didn't belong to the city of Raleigh, North Carolina, then it has really nothing to do on their end. And so that was that. And then in terms of the scientific environment, there were some others out there that took a look at this, and they provided these three following explanations. So not just one, not two, but three when it comes to potential real life animals that this could be, if you could call them animals. Like, this was fascinating to read this because I never really heard that these type of creatures can exist within these environments, but they actually do. And so these are the actual 3 type of real life creatures from this earth that could be, in this case, this Cameron Village Sewer Blob. Number 1 came from a gentleman by the name of Ed Buchan, who works also with the Raleigh Public Utilities Company. He stated that he thinks it could be a colony of tubifax worms, which you're looking at a picture of here. And he stated that these are usually creatures that work into pipes, especially at the weak points, and that their movement associated with the clip, the one that you've looked at by now if you haven't had a chance, he said that it could be a response to the heat coming from the camera's light. And so this was his direct quote. I've seen a lot of sewer TV before, and I've never seen them. We were surprised. We didn't know immediately what it was. Every now and then you see something like that, but generally the only things you can see in the sewer lines are roots, grease, maybe a rat or some bugs. And then he ended it by stating that thankfully I don't have to mess too much with sewers anymore. But again, that was his explanation, that it was more along the lines of a tubifax set of worms. Now, another theory actually came from this, in this case from a person from the North Carolina State University. His name was Tom Quack, and he told one news organization that he thinks it was more along the lines of a colony of bryozoans. Apparently, there's also specifically bryozoans for the sewers, and this was his quote. He said, "They are small animals like a hydra that live together in colonies, and they stick out tentacles to feed, and when they're disturbed, they withdraw into small tubes that they've built, but that the bryozoans aren't dirty, they don't carry diseases, and they don't bite or sting, and that there's no real reason to clear them out unless they become an issue of clogging the sewer pipe." So as you're looking at a picture of some bryozoans here, it could actually help explain more what this particular creature is. And then finally, there was a third explanation, in this case from someone from the Department of Biological Sciences at Wright State University. This one from a Dr. Timothy S. Wood. He countered this. He stated that no, they're not bryozoans, they're actually clumps of annelid worms, which you're looking at a picture of here. In fact, he stated they're almost could be also I think it's called tubificids is the exact explanation of them. But yeah, he stated that in this case, they apparently entered a pipeline, and in the absence of soil that are crawling around each other. And then he further explained how they move in synchronicity. He stated that contractions you see are the result of a single worm contracting and then stimulating all the others to do the same almost simultaneously. So it looks like a single big muscle contracting. So that's his official explanation when it comes to that. So as you can see from the scientific community, 3 different individuals, all 3 of them giving 3 different answers as to what it could be, but all 3 answers are real life animals, real life creatures that are within this earth, and each one of them definitely has a possibility in terms of what could be this Cameron Village Sewer Blob. Very fascinating stuff when I was reading this information, because again, I had no idea this kind of stuff even existed, and let alone something like this being found deep within the sewers there in Raleigh, North Carolina. But that's pretty much it. That's all the info associated with this encounter. I was trying to see if there was more information as far as, what occurred to this creature that was found there. It's colloquially referred to again as the blob, whether it was cleaned out or something else was done with deep within those sewers. But no, nothing else I could find as far as that kind of information, nor can I find any other explanations like anyone else that wanted to state that it was anything else, like let's say along the lines of a true cryptid rather than let's say an actual creature from this earth. But still, it's fascinating to realize how truth is stranger than fiction, and how these real life creatures that exist could literally almost seem like they come from another part of the universe. So very fascinating stuff. But if anybody has any information, anything else I might have missed, anybody there from the Raleigh, North Carolina area, I'm sure if you lived there back in 2009-ish, you would have definitely run into this story. I'm sure it would have set the area there on fire when it comes to what was discovered within those sewers. But if anyone has any more local information as far as that, then please, I'd love to hear that info too. And any updates, if again anyone has any info about what occurred to these creatures, then please let us know. So, all right, everybody, thanks again as always. Take care.